Parallel offset is very straightforward. Math that's very straightforward. Some people overcomplicate it. Obviously, there's bending apps that will eliminate having to do any math. I believe it's important to utilize or know how to do proper math equations and then utilize the apps if you want to down the road. But it's pretty straightforward. All you need to know for a parallel offset, you need to determine your center-to-center spacing for whatever conduit you're using. I have 3/4 EMT over there, which is what I'm using. Center-to-center spacing, I like to use 2 inches for 3/4 EMT. Some say 1 7/8. I've done both, but an 1/8 of an inch difference really isn't going to change much of anything. I use 2-inch center-to-center spacing for 3/4 and 1 inch EMT. It's just a standard thing. A lot of people do it. So we're going to have determined our center-to-center spacing is equal to 2 inches. C to C, center to center, in case you don't understand what that means. Let's just draw that here. So we'll say 2 inches. And then we're also going to say that our bends, or offsets, are going to be 30-degree bends. That's important as well. For a parallel offset, it's very straightforward. You're going to take tangent in a calculator, and then you're going to input, write this other stuff out, which I'll explain here in a second. So to begin with, tangent in the calculator, it's going to shoot you out tangent with the 1 parenthesis. You are then going to, right here, this is going to be 1/2 of your bend angle. So a little basic math. If we have determined we're doing 30-degree offsets, half of 30 is going to be 15, right? I know no one's talking, but this is always going to be half of whatever your actual bend is. So if this was 45, it's going to be 22.5 that goes here. If it's 60 for whatever reason, that's going to be 30. And you can continue to do the math there. Right here, so you have tangent, half of your actual bend degree times your center-to-center spacing. Write that out. Now, center-to-center spacing, which we have determined is 2. If you have bigger conduit, that spacing is going to get bigger. But in this example, it's going to be 2. I have a standard iPhone. To do this, it's very straightforward. So, if you have the iPhone, obviously, you might see this screen. To change that, just simply click the calculator icon down there. Hit scientific. There you go. Tangent's right there. So, what we're going to do we've already said tangent. So, the first thing we're going to do is hit tangent. And as I told you, there's that 1 highlighted parenthesis. We're going to do half of our bend, which is 30 degrees. So half of 30 is 15, which is where that 15's from. And then I like to, well, you need to close the other side of the parenthesis, times that by your center-to-center spacing, which in this case will be 2, which is going to shoot you out a decimal. Now, people aren't good at a lot of people aren't good at converting decimals to fractions, fractions to decimals. I get it. I can tell you 0.53 is going to be very close to 9/16 of an inch. So that 0.53 right there, we can write this out. 0.53. Oh man, my handwriting sucks. 0.53 equals 9/16 of an inch. Now, we're going to dive further into the video. Like I keep saying, we're doing 30-degree bends. And then I just wrote this in. We're going to bend 4-inch offsets. That's going to be our actual offset length. For our first piece of conduit that we bend, our mark number 1 is, let's just write that out. It's going to be 6 inches here. And then if we're doing 30-degree bends on a 4-inch offset, our spacing for pipe number 1 will be 4 times 2, which is 8. We're going to add that 8 to the 6, which is 14. So mark number 2, obviously this is not the correct markings, but you'll get the point. Mark number 2 would be at 14 inches, right? So mark number 1, mark 1, mark 2. That's for conduit number 1. Now, where this 9/16 of an inch comes into play. Depending on if your offsets are like your first offset is going to be the shorter of the 2, is going to depend if you add or subtract this difference right here, this 9/16. In this case, since I did this for pipe number 1 is the smaller one, we're going to add 9/16 of an inch. So, with that being said, on our second conduit, we're going to take our starting mark, which was 6 inches, we're adding 9/16 of an inch. Pretty straightforward. So, mark number 1 on pipe number 2 is going to be 6 9/16. And then we're going to also add, which is our offset is 4 inches. We're multiplying it by 2, which is the multiplier for 30, which is 8. And then we're simply adding 8 back to our original number. So mark number 2 on this one would be 14 and 9/16. Pipe number 1, which is the first one we're going to mark out. We determined our first mark we needed at 6 inches, and then we have the 4-inch offset, which is going to be 8 inches of a difference from mark number 1. So for pipe number 1, we have a mark at 6 inches, and then we're adding that 8, which is our second mark, is at 14 inches. Pretty straightforward. Give this a quick loop around, or at least a bigger mark temporarily. All right, pipe number 1 done. Now, pipe number 2, like we said, we did all the math, got 9/16 of an inch. That mark is going to shift. So, we said our first mark for pipe number 1 was 6 inches. We're adding our 9/16 to our 6-inch mark here, which is 6 and 9/16. This will make a lot more sense after everything's bent so you can see. And then we're just simply adding 8 inches to that. Everything else remains the same. So, 6 and 9/16 plus 8 is 14 and 9/16. Next we'll bend. Mark 1, mark 2, this is pipe number 1. I bend all my offsets, or at least I like to try to bend all my offsets on the center mark. That's just a personal preference for me. But, like I said, 30-degree offset. Some people air bend it, that's fine, not for me. So, first bend it down, put it down. Try to ensure you're on a level ground. That definitely always helps. Definitely doesn't hurt anything. And use a level. A level doesn't lie. Bend it up. There we, maybe a tiny bit more. Bada bing, bada boom. And then we're going to take our level off. 180 our conduit. And then we're going to eyeball it, make sure it's straight. Obviously, we'll check for dog legs, or you would check for dog legs after this. Eyeball it straight, put your mark back in that center notch if that's where you started like I did. And same thing, apply a little pressure. Flip it back over. And then I'll use my castrated level because I cut the no dogs off all of mine because I have Klein's smaller no dog. And just ensure when you're bending it that it's level. It works at 6 and 9/16 and then 14 and 9/16. We used 9/16 of an inch, which we did our math equation to shift our mark. Same thing. So I put it on the center notch. Give it a little bend. Use a level. I don't care what the social media folks are telling you if you're not using a level bending conduit, installing stuff. Just not a good look in my opinion. It also takes almost no more time to utilize a level. Bend it. Now obviously people are going to be in the comments saying, oh well, that math took you way too long. Back in my day I did things 50 times faster. Good for you, buddy. This video is not for people that already know what they're doing. It's just pretty straightforward. If I can help one apprentice, I did what I set out to do, which is to help a young apprentice. Or just a beginning apprentice. It doesn't have to be a young guy or a young woman. It could be someone later in their career. I don't care. As long as it helps someone, that's all I care about. Once again, I should have put my level on first, but there we go. Get that on there. Now, final result. This is obviously a little different because it's on the ground in my garage. I don't have it hanging on a rack or placed on a rack on the wall, whatever the case may be. But the way to verify your your parallel offsets are correct, there's multiple ways. This is the way I like to do it. Say I had 10 of them, I do the exact same way. I'd lay them all out. But what I'll do, I match up the beginnings. And then what I'll do, simple as this. I said 2 inches center to center. I start up at the top with the ends matched up. As you can see, 2 inches. I'm going 3 center, 5 center. That's 2 inches. Then what I like to do, I like to go to the bends. As you can, or in the middle of between both of the bends. As you can see, I have 4 and 6, perfectly center to center, 2 inches. Then at the very end, we'll go down here, 3, 2, 5, perfectly center to center. That, my friends, is a video over parallel offsets. Some people overcomplicate them, some people undercomplicate them. The math for whatever reason people think is intimidating. It's very straightforward, very easy. Obviously, there's bending apps. People will say to utilize those, or, oh, you should just know what the difference is already, or, oh, just use this number. That's fine. That's perfectly dandy. As you go through the trade, as you learn more and more, things become easier. You'll retain information. But to begin with, take your time, learn, utilize it, and then transform the way you do things. This is just the way I like to do it. Hopefully it helps. If you find this video insightful, let me know. Obviously, I'm working in my garage. I can't really make videos out in the field due to some of the locations I work in. But yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. And as always, have a great day. Peace.